Hello, this is Daniel Vayon with the Daniel Vayon Show on YouTube. Well, actually, it's the Daniel Vayon Show here on Streamyard. I like to do sound effects on my podcast slash live videos. Since this is since this since I'm pre-recording for podcast, so I decided to do this. Okay, so back This took about 55 seconds in the video. 15 seconds of an advertisement from SiteFlight on YouTube. So I'm gonna let that finish and then I take it off. All right, there you go. So now that I've gotten in the time machine, gone all the way back to February 24th, 1997. Let me look back what I was talking about. Okay. The opening match for Monday Nitro was Public Enemy versus the newly formed team of Jeff Jarrett and Steve Mongo McMichael of the Horsemen. They had just come off the night before from facing each other to make Jeff Jarrett an official Horseman, and they went against Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge of known as Public Enemy. And they themselves had just won a huge triangle match the night before against the tag teams Harlem Heat and the Faces of Fear. While this match is happening on Nitro, on Raw, the new Blackjacks, comprised of Blackjack Bradshaw and Blackjack Wyndham, went against former WWE Tag Team Champions at the time, Godwins. Match ended when the first ever clothesline from hell that I know of was recorded by JBL, or should I just say Bradshaw. Blackjack Bradshaw hit Phineas, I believe it was Godwin, with a clothesline to save his partner Blackjack Bradshaw from being put to sleep by a sleeper hold. The referee Mike Chioda, I believe, was the referee for that match, and all he looked at were the shoulders. If he looked at the feet, then he didn't pay attention. So when he should have stopped himself and pointed out that Phineas's foot was on the rope. He didn't. So he counted to three. Referee Billy Silverman came from the back, and they started arguing. And in a nutshell, the simple response from Mike Chioda was that he can't call what he didn't see. He obviously, according to the story, didn't see that Phineas Godwin's foot was on the rope, so he couldn't stop the count. So after arguing, he got out the ring as quickly as possible, and they went to commercial. Earlier in the match, they had announced one segment and one match for later on in the night. First, they showed that Farouk of the Nation of Domination was going to go against The Undertaker. And after a few minutes, they also showed that Marlena was going to go against Sunny in an arm wrestling match. And in the middle of that, they asked Goldust about it, and all he had to say was, Marlena will be doing her job. That's all I can say. So, what happened in the opening match on Nitro was they had wrestled a really good match between the two of them. And to really break down what happened in comparison. Now, I'm not really very good with the ratings aspect of the Monday night episodes, but what I do know, is by this time they had already went on a winning streak against Raw in ratings. So what I would guess, this is just an assumption, or well, actually, it would only be an assumption because when these shows are spoken about on AEW, they really don't get into they really don't. Conrad Thompson, I hope that's not wrong for me to mention his name. Excuse me. But when they do episodes talking about this, they never delved too much on if there was any direction given to the wrestlers before they went out for their match. So I don't know if they were directly told to be as opposite of Raw as possible, but what they did that was completely different was because they were thrown together one night after they went against each other, because Jeff Jarrett hit Steve McMichael with his own Halliburton briefcase. Steve McMichael hit him back, and I think the referee could see it. So the referee called for the bell, and he was like, you can see a look of confusion on his face, like, what's going on here? So Gene Okerlund came down to the ring. Ric Flair and Arn Anderson came down to the ring. And Steve McMichael had explained that even though he did hit Jeff Jarrett with the Halliburton briefcase, it was only to get back at it was only like getting back at your brother. It didn't mean you didn't do it because he had problems. You didn't do it out of spite or anything, or let me put it another way. It's not like he's going to do it all the time. He just did it that one time, and that would be it. So they shook hands, and everything was okay. What many of us sitting at home, including myself, did not know was at this point in time, Arn Anderson had such a bad neck injury, he wasn't sure when he was going to get back in the ring. So he said, the reason we both need you to get on the same page is because we're both hurt. So we need somebody to carry the ship for us through this. And so that happened. The next match on Nitro was Hacksaw Jim Duggan against Galaxy. The match really was just a filler match. So if I was gonna, like I said this on YouTube the other night or on Automatic, but I don't know, it didn't stay. So what I'm gonna do, or what I'm gonna say is, as far as star ratings go, I really don't know if there's a specific number of stars, but if I was going to rate matches by a star ranking, I would rank it like, okay, 5 stars because I think it should end at 5 because I think 5 is as high as it should go. A 5-star match I would consider to be kind of matches that I used to watch on videotape before DVDs existed. I'll give you some examples. Ted DiBiase versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, or Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart for the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 12. As a matter of fact, any Shawn Michaels match throughout his career would be a 5-star match because of how good he was. Or any match that Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair had would be a 5-star match. So a 3 or 4-star match would be like would be kind of like the Blackjacks versus the Godwins when it was pretty much one-sided most of the match. The little bit of momentum the Godwins had, it was quickly slowed down by the Blackjacks. So I would say that would be a 3 or 4-star match. What I'm looking for. On Nitro, the first match was a 5-star. Was a 4-star because a blatant disqualification just kind of kills it. Kind of kills it in the storytelling part. Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Galaxy. There was really no story to this. Just a general match. Just a general fill-in match for the next match to come up. So that was like, matter of fact, I'll be honest, the second and third matches were filler matches, so they would be like a 3-star between both matches. The promo that Jim Duggan gave was good. I'd rate that a 4-star. Okay. Just took the sound off of that. Second match, that was like a 4-star match because how good it was by the way, it was actually in the second match, by the way. Not just by the way. Before I say what happened during the second match, let me say it this way. Jerry Lawler, obviously on TV, had said to Paul Heyman and the rest of his ECW men, why don't y'all come here on Raw and let people know what y'all are about? And in real life, they were given that invitation in real life too. So this was just to let people know why they're here. And in the middle of Little Guido, also known as Nunzio in the WWE, he went against BWO's Stevie Richards. Stevie Richards and his good friend Blue Meanie were they were like Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall in the parody. And Blue Meanie was, I think because there's nobody tall enough to play the role of play the role of Kevin Nash. That's why they had somebody come out with them to parody Hogan, but the closest they got to Blue Meanie being like the closest thing they had was Blue Meanie, but he was obviously parody of Scott Hall. So and the Stevie Kick said it right there, even without hearing about it, which I did hear about them being a parody act, but even before I heard about that, he looked enough like a younger similar to a younger Shawn Michaels that I didn't need to be told that. It was obvious in itself the way his hair was and the way he was built and everything. It was obviously a parody of Shawn Michaels. So he beat Little Guido 4-star. With the Stevie Kick, I'd say that was 4 stars because it was an excellent match. And being that it was done out of the ordinary for them anyway. They come from the land of Extreme, which had no rules, to Monday Night Raw, who was filled with the standard rules of the classic days. So that's why I'd say it's a 4-star rating, even with Blue Meanie getting in the ring to respond how good the maneuvers were by his good friend Stevie Richards. Even with that kind of un, unusual, even with unusual antics like that, made it a great match. So I'd say it was a 4-star match. Nitro, I just said the first 2-3 matches, rated them. This post match interview with Ken Shamrock, and Jerry Lawler. By the way, I'd always wondered, especially after seeing MMA a few times or UFC a few times, I always wondered, how did he get started in wrestling? Or how did he get into the WWE? So what I found out about 2 years ago now was that he got started around the Memphis area with Robert Fuller. And one time, when he was getting bookings in that area, whatever area it was, but I believe it was probably in Tennessee because that's where Robert Fuller, alias Colonel Parker, alias Tennessee Lee in the WWE. That's where he knows him from. Is probably close to the Memphis, Tennessee area. What I liked was how he said his first response was, "I don't know you. You're lying." And I took it off the sound because I wanted to talk about it. I didn't want the audio to be on. What made it worse is he claimed because Shamrock was a good friend of his. He was he that being Shamrock. Many people know not only was he in the WWE at this time, but he's the one of the first UFC heavyweight world champions in UFC, along with another pro wrestler who was in UFC, Dan Severn, who was actually NWA heavyweight champion when he was in the UFC. So this is interesting right there. He's claiming that he has martial arts technique that he taught Ken. He's saying he doesn't know him. Jerry Lawler said, "Wait a minute." He's he brought up some things that are obviously for the story only, and Ken Shamrock, knowing how things were in those days, I believe Ken Shamrock was not expecting these words, so that's why he's saying he's lying. And I really didn't I really didn't want to say at first after saying that's why I'm not saying anything else. I was trying to think what to say. I really don't know. I really don't know if um if he had to tell Ken Shamrock in the back that he thought he knew what he was going to ask. I don't know anything like that. I can see right here the face Jerry Lawler's making is, I can't believe this. Mm-hmm. So they were saying on the Slammy Awards, yeah, they were going to say that they were announcing what was advertised, what advertisement they used for the Slammy Awards at this time, and was actually um, it was actually presented or sponsored by own their own CD put out called The Album. All of the songs for all the ring songs for the WWE stars in those days. And he was just letting us know how we can still cast votes for for who we think should win each category. I had said a few years ago that I honestly believe that should be brought back as a how can I say this? I think that should be brought back with the way, instead of it being just a fan interactive thing, which worked for many years, but I think it should be brought back and be treated like the way that the Oscars or the Emmys are treated like. Especially have all these journalists now out there writing, so I think they should do that. I think they should bring it. I think they should bring it back and have it be more of a. See if I'm thinking this right. But oh yeah, I think they should have it be more like. I think they should have. Not only should they have a lot of the original categories brought into it, but I think they should use. I think they should have journalists and promoters and things of that nature. That because they have a lot of independent shows that can actually branch out into territories with the NWA and other companies now. So I think that's kind of award show they should do. Next match here on Nitro looks like okay, WCW United States Heavyweight Champion Eddie Guerrero and the Lionheart Chris Jericho against Faces of Fear. And what I was going to say was, I believe they too had a U.S. title match, Jericho and Guerrero, from the night before against each other the night before, with Eddie Guerrero coming out on top on that match. What was good about that match was they shook hands. They shook hands after the match was over. So that helped. So that showed they're on the same page before this match happened. Helped them out a lot in the storyline aspect of this match. And I'm still wondering why their opponents for this night, Faces of Fear, why they were never given a title reign, a tag team title reign in WCW. They had some of the best matches. They had some of the best matches, and they never. I don't think they were even given a title shot, and they had some of the best matches in the WCW tag team division. They're so good that they were always able to give, even if they went against what we used to call in the 1980s a team of jobbers. They were always able to give even a job team offense, which by the general, what we call just a general definition of a jobber, they get zero offense. They don't even look like they're good in any way. So that's why I don't. That's why I say they deserved a tag team title reign in WCW somewhere. Just like the Barbarian when he was with King Haku Isming. Never mind. When he was with I'm trying to think what is the Tonga Kid as the Islanders, I believe, in the WWE. They too are not given a title reign, and they made a job team look good enough to where they gave them offense, and that's something that most job teams never got in those days. because the description of a job guy is to look like he's got zero chance against you to win. So that's why the fact that they gave their opponents that by definition were a job team gave them so much what we call so much offense shows excuse me, not just how good they are but how unselfish they were. Hmm. Jericho and Eddie Guerrero were working well right here. Double Irish whip to Haku's character here, Ming. In WCW, even managed to give him a back body drop, something I was not expecting. Okay, I was trying to see how long I've been talking. Okay. Whoa. Barbarian. I think y'all can see this, but I'll just say it because of the impact of the maneuver. Got to the top rope with Jericho Barbarian did and gave him a belly to belly overhead suplex. Don't usually see that. Jericho just did a roll up to counter knee into his gut, and that almost got the victory. That was good too. Ooh. Right. Right. Ming just motioned for Barbarian to come in behind the referee's back. Hmm. Good save right there. Another good tag team. As a matter of fact, found out in A. Guerrero's DVD story produced by the WWE that they were Jericho and Eddie Guerrero were so good as a tag team that they were actually they're actually almost as good as Brian Pillman and Steve Austin because they were never given a tag title shot, but they came very close. So they were in that company. They were as good of a tag team that were just thrown together to help get other guys to help try to get other guys over, like Hollywood Blondes were when Steve Austin was put with Brian Pillman. But Pillman and Austin had so much chemistry. There was nobody else to put the titles on, so you kind of really they were company as far as the TBS executives go. They were ignorant of the business because they looked down on it, but they were not at the same time. They're ignorant of the business. They were not stupid. So that's why they knew to put the titles on them, because they knew it would make them look better than what they really were. But they didn't want it to become normal for tag teams to think that it was okay to prove them wrong. So that's why they never did that again. That's why they never let it get that far with. That's why I believe they never let it get that far with Guerrero and Jericho, because it already hurt their ego to be in the wrestling business. They didn't want to add to it. But they did a lot of great. They were doing a lot of great work here as a tag team. They even did the double drop kick that Rock and Roll Express made famous. Yeah, I thought that's what happened. Dean Malenko came out in this right as Eddie gonna try to go for the victory here, and he pushed Eddie off the top rope. Before that happened, Jericho was gonna go like almost like drop kick through the middle rope against me, but I think he made a mistake, so he landed on, instead of going through, he landed on the rope, so he was pulled out by me. That's why the referee. That's why when Dean Malenko came out, the referee didn't see him. Pushed him down, got kicked by Barbarian, pushed off the rope, kicked by the Barbarian, and that's how they won the match. And the reason he did this was, the night before, earlier, about I guess an hour or two before Guerrero defended his title against Jericho, he came out during the Cruiserweight title match, and he was trying to take the title from a six to hand it to the timekeeper, or handed to the ring announcer David Penzer, but Dean Malenko thought he wanted the title for himself, so that's why he pushed him off the turnbuckle right there. What I liked was how they used to always show replays on Nitro. Even Saturday nights, they showed that dangerous looking belly back suplex that was hit on Jericho by, I believe it was Ming. And she was kicked in the back by Barbarian. Then they show the finish right here. And Kevin Sullivan and Jacqueline the night before, the incident happened in the middle of and Benoit and Kevin Sullivan's match against each other. It was an anything goes match. While they were doing that, the women, Jacqueline and Woman, they faced off against each other with straps handed to each other. So they were hitting each other with the straps because it was really the only thing that women could do that I know of. So something happened where she thought she could shield Kevin Sullivan getting hit with the diving headbutt, but she got hit with the diving headbutt instead. So both lived in an ambulance, and one ambulance, and a separate ambulance was what Chris Benoit was in with Woman inside of it. And that's when Jimmy Hart said that win was for Jacqueline and Kevin Sullivan. And the main event of SuperBrawl, well, semi-main event of SuperBrawl, was World Tag Title match with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, the Outsiders, defending against the Giant. Now, Eric Bischoff made it very clear that he was not going to sanction Luger as a tag team partner. But Luger came out anyway. He and the Giant won not once but twice. The first one came with, I believe it was Scott Hall submitting to the torture rack. The second win came from Scott Hall getting pinned after a chokeslam by the Giant. So, if I'm not mistaken, Eric Bischoff came out to take titles from them, and Lex Luger, been smart like he was, he said to Bischoff, I'll give the titles back if you agree to put all the titles on the line against us, against any member of WCW that we could get. And then as time went on, they added Roddy Piper. That's why I wanted to continue this. Because not only is it WrestleMania season now as it was back then, but I get to see shows I've never seen before, and get to see shows that I forgot I actually watched. So that match right there was a 4-star match. Paul Heyman was introducing Mikey Whipwreck. Wasn't sure if he was a champion or not. In fact, I don't know how many titles they had. But he was representing ECW, and I remember seeing him in like 1999 in WCW going against wrestling in the Cruiserweight division, going against Billy Kidman for the title. And I remember being amazed at how good he was, and I was like, where did this guy come from? It wasn't until I played the WWE 2K16 I found out that Steve Austin, when they repackaged him in ECW, and his character was just like the Stone Cold character in WWE. He was they went against each other, I believe, for the world title. So it's like he was actually on ECW, and The reason I say it like that is because I'd heard, if I could use that expression, through the grapevine that ECW was a very violent, very was a show that was not too far from what WWE had become. About like say by this time, the WWE was slowly becoming what ECW already was. So when I saw how good he wrestled, I was thinking that ECW didn't have a lot of good wrestlers because they were known for having a product that was very, um, I know now it's too violent. And there were some parts that had literally nothing to do with wrestling. So I was surprised at how good he was. And then you look at has Maniac right here, how good he was. And straight away for instead of the Taz mission, for a version of triangle choke, I think is what they call it in in UFC. Yeah, he's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Because he knows all the traditional moves. Drop toe hold, hammer lock, wrist lock. And as a matter of fact, he just did a takedown with the hammer lock. So that's a perfect example of how good these guys can be. Unfortunately, Paul Heyman's idea to that he compared to the Nirvana group was to be extreme. And even though it worked, there's still a lot of aspects of it just in hindsight just isn't worth it. Tasmanian almost won that with no, Tasmaniac almost won that with a Northern Lights suplex bridge. A release. Um, I'm not really sure what kind of suplex that was that they call a Taskplex. It's not a full Nelson, so I don't know what kind of move they could call it. But he put both arms like this behind him, and then he just threw him in the back. I don't know what kind of. I know it's released, but I don't know what kind of suplex it is. Oh, this is happening. They're asking Farouk about his match with the Undertaker. Hmm. He was promising Undertaker's gonna feel pain. and the Road Warriors were here at in the WWF, so that's gonna be interesting also to see when they're announced for a match at WrestleMania from this year. Ahmed Johnson gonna go against Farouk. That was another thing they pushed, so they were announcing along with this match. So that's gonna be interesting to see as continue talking about this timeline. Match is almost over. I think somebody's coming out that yeah, somebody's about to come out that has to do. Oh yeah, Sabu jump from the top of the Raw sign, the letter R, as a matter of fact, onto one of the personal security guards. He used to be a referee. Ooh, Mikey Rip Prick just thrown outside over the top rope onto Sabu to slow him down. So the rest of his security detail is pulling Sabu to the back. Another suplex by Taz. Looks like he's about to go for the Taz mission here. Yeah, going for it all right. Gives up right away. So Bill Alfonso goes in there with the Taz flag and he's waving it around. Taz. Bill Alfonso, what I would describe Bill Alfonso as right here is 1990s version of Dangerous Danny Davis, a crooked referee. All right. Show a replay of what happened. Sabu climbing on top. I don't know how he did that, but he jumped on top of the R part of the Raw sign and he jumped off. Out next is are the Headbangers, Mosh and Slash, I believe. I remember, by the way, one time in toward the end of the original TNA's end, toward the end of their original TNA reign, before they were sold to Anthem and all that other stuff that happened, Chris Daniels and Kazarian every now and then would do Throwback Thursday. One week they dressed up as Dumb and Dumber, and one week they dressed up as the Headbangers, and last time I remember them doing Throwback Thursday was them dressed up as the Road Warriors. Out comes the legendary Legion of Doom. this, I'm not gonna say what I'm not gonna say this has effect, but knowing how Hawk and Animal always went against their opponents and were just smash mouth and really were like how the Blackjacks wrestled tonight before that was considered popular.
You can't have a beard. Now, if you want firm though, you can have a beard, but you gotta shave to go back to work.
Mhm. I don't even know if they actually wanted to win the match as much as just make a statement. So they assaulted the headbangers right off the shoot like they usually do, threw them through the ropes. And I don't even know if they actually cared about the match as much as they just wanted to make a statement about their time there. Now I don't know who just tagged himself in, but I believe his name is Mosh. Let's see. Back body drop by Hawk. I could see that Hawk must have just done some sun tanning earlier in either the day or in the week because every time they hit him, I saw some stripe come across his back. He tore the shirt, tore a part of the shirt off of on that was on. I believe it's Slash's on his back, and he tore it so they could chop him several times. Emma was just tagged in while what Hawk was getting choked by that shirt. His partner came in and saved the match. Ooh. Just broke for the count of five. Actually, it's at the count of two, but it's to break the count of five. And all that they're showing was all that they learned from guys like Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and then let's not forget they were real life roommates to Ravishing Rick Rude when Rick Rude started out. So from learning from all those men, all those all those great men right there that knew how to really wrestle. That's why you see so much technique from them. The only the closest thing to technique we see The headbangers here was the sunset flip.